Welcome back to the Super Sim series, where I've decided to make just one sim who will gain almost every trait, master every skill, graduate with all of the university degrees, reach the top of every career, and complete every collection. Last episode, Tina embraced a life of crime, joining the underworld club where she put in some seriously nefarious work by both causing chaos and helping to expand the club, all to satisfy the club's powerful vampire leader Rhiannon. Only Tina's relationship with Rhiannon was one-sided, and before too long the reality hit her. She was being used. Tina felt like a bird just pooped on her head, and she vowed revenge, enacting a wicked plan that eventually led to the death of Rhiannon's right-hand vampire Marley. And as Tina completed the public enemy aspiration and soared to the top of the villain branch of the secret agent career, she eagerly anticipated Rhiannon crumbling like a cookie in the hands of a toddler. It was just after 10 PM that Tina received a call from a very scattered Rhiannon. She was trying to sound composed, but Tina could tell that she was shaken. "Tina, it's Marley. She's dead," Rhiannon told her. It was hard to tell if Rhiannon was mourning Marley or if she was simply sad at the inconvenience this caused her. Either way, Rhiannon was now concerned that there weren't enough vampires in the underworld club, and so she ordered Tina to find a replacement vampire member. Tina told her she'd work on it, but right now she had other priorities. Having completed the public enemy aspiration, Tina swapped over to the Seeker of Secrets aspiration, and she then made her way over to the Celia Tiger Sanctuary within Tomarang. Here she snuck inside under the cover of darkness. Unfortunately, despite her stealthy skills, she was caught, but not before scooping up the elusive Tiger Inspector badge. In the moment, Tina went on a rant about tigers, and thankfully she was merely shown the door. Obtaining the Tiger Inspector badge completed an aspiration task, and after viewing the nearby statue, Tina returned home in the early hours of the morning. Here she crafted more computer chips and mechanisms, all the while Willow lived the DJ life, earning enhancement progress as she worked on her DJ mixing skill, and this led to Willow being ready for her final enhancement upgrade. And so after enjoying a spinach frittata for breakfast, Tina installed the final enhancement upgrade on Willow while somehow practicing social distancing like it was 2020. Most notably, this upgrade boosted Willow's charging speed by 50%, and it also meant that she'd now reached robotic perfection and couldn't be upgraded further. Following this, Tina quickly fixed up her needs before heading off to work as a triple agent within the villain branch of the secret agent career. Upon returning home, Tina earned a small raise, and she then headed on into her bunker before pulling Willow aside for a chat. You see, Tina no longer feared Rhiannon, and she felt that she no longer needed a servo's protection, at least for now. So she proposed that the pair go apartment hunting so that Willow could find a place she liked to settle down. Tina assured Willow that this wasn't goodbye. The servo would still very much remain in Tina's life, and would potentially even be called upon in the future to move back in with her when she needed help. It was a bit of a shock, but after a moment's thought, Willow was actually pretty excited to go her own way. Kind of like Gabriella in High School Musical 2, but not quite, because she really sung a whole song about leaving and then returned the next day. Love that for her. Anyway, apartment hunting for Willow would have to wait, because it was now nighttime and Tina had caught wind that Rhiannon wasn't home. Armed with this information, she made her way over to Rhiannon's house in the Forgotten Hollow, and here she started a break-in event. You see, Rhiannon was already freaking out, and Tina wanted to make sure that she didn't quite have a chance to compose herself. During the break-in, Tina swiped her grandfather clock, hung out by the fireplace, and did a little snooping around. Only unfortunately, Tina got a little too comfortable and fell asleep on the couch, and she ended up coming face to face with Rhiannon as she returned home. Thankfully, Rhiannon trusted Tina so much that she was completely unfazed with her being there. I mean, Tina didn't even have to whip out her Tiger Inspector badge and claim to have seen a tiger to explain herself, and she simply waltzed back home in the morning. Hopefully, Rhiannon wouldn't think too much about the stolen clock. The break-in saw Tina complete another task from the Seeker of Secrets aspiration, and after returning home in the morning, Tina relaxed and fixed up her needs before then going to work in the afternoon, returning home with a solid paycheck. But while the pay was good, there was something Tina needed that wasn't money. And that was crime boss experience. And so she decided it was time to quit the secret agent career and instead join the boss branch of the criminal career, entering into it at rank 8 as a safe cracker. And yes, this career swap prompted an instant outfit change. After spending some time upgrading her gaming mat, both with sturdy panels and Crytaku casing to essentially make it unbreakable, Tina then grabbed her phone and invited over an unexpected acquaintance. Sion. Tina had briefly run into Sion when first moving into the bunker, and she now had to explain to him that she'd previously lied and that she actually lived inside it and wasn't just a neighbor. Thankfully, Sion didn't seem to mind that much, which was good because Tina needed his help. You see, Sion wasn't your regular vampire. Much like Rhiannon, he was a Grand Master Vampire, one of the strongest. And if Tina could get him to join the underworld while still loyal to her, then it would greatly help her in overthrowing Rhiannon. Tina spent the night schmoozing with Sion, playing arcade games and cards with him while showing him pictures of cats on her phone. I mean, who doesn't love cat pictures? Eventually, Tina opened up about the Underworld Club, and she more than hinted at how much Rhiannon sucked. And after Sion seemed interested, Tina then proposed that he join, adding that together they could totally overthrow Rhiannon. Sion pondered the proposal while Tina whipped up some pancakes, but sadly he made an exit before giving an answer. And then come morning, Tina decided to head out apartment hunting with Willow. They started at Diego Lobo's apartment, which was up for sale. While it was large, Tina and Willow both felt the space was just a little too bland. But while the apartment wasn't quite what Tina was looking for, another sim taking a look at it, Dominic, was. He was a hottie. Tina swapped over to the Villainous Valentine Aspiration, and as Willow got comfortable playing computer games, Tina got comfortable with Dominic. More than comfortable really, and things started getting heated between the pair. Things were also getting hot between Willow and Diego. Literally. Somehow Diego had set himself on fire. Thankfully though, Willow managed to put him out. And while Diego enjoyed a lavender-infused bath, Tina and Dominic shared a kiss. And following lots of making out with Willow and Diego way too close, Tina then asked Dominic to break up with his wife Moira. Annoyingly, despite repeated efforts with lots of kissing in between, Dominic repeatedly said that he was faithful to his wife. Tina was like, what is your definition of faithful? Am I imagining our lips locking? What's going on? Needless to say, Tina had to ramp things up a bit. And so she officially asked Dominic to be her romantic partner. Then the second he agreed, she convinced him to leave his wife. Really though, Tina was non-committal and she was just doing all of this for the drama, so she then dumped Dominic on the spot. Yes, it sucked to be Dominic, but Tina was now one step closer to completing the Villainous Valentine Aspiration. Poor Dominic was really clinging on because he then asked if he could move in, and of course Tina was like, no. It had been a busy day, and Tina returned home only to race off to work pretty much instantly. It was a busy night cracking safes, and Tina came home from work at 1 AM having earned herself a promotion to rank 9 as the brains. She settled in at home for the night, relaxing, fixing up her needs and paying her bills, and come morning it was time to once again go apartment hunting. This time they checked out the Jang's colourful apartment, and while Willow had a look around, Tina got distracted. She ran into a total hottie, Alon, and after discovering that he had a wife, Tina's home-wrecking instincts came out. She was very interested. She flirted with Alon repeatedly, making out with him in what was a very saucy apartment viewing. Not quite as hot as the one at Diego's though. You know, no one literally set themselves on fire. After some romantic chatter and lots of kissing, Tina sealed the deal with her now signature loving dip kiss where she puts a person's head through a window. Alon was smitten. And so Tina then successfully asked him to be her romantic partner before immediately convincing him to leave his wife. With Tina's beauty before him, he was like, Leanne who? His wife already a distant memory. And this was a truly momentous breakup, because it meant that Tina had now broken up 10 couples in total, which saw her fully complete the Villainous Valentine Aspiration and be awarded the Twisted Heart trait. This trait boosts her social gain from mean and mischief interactions and also sees her clear sad and embarrassed moodlets faster. Honestly, finishing this aspiration is also just a huge relief, as it's one of the hardest aspirations in the game to complete. I've been working on it slowly for numerous episodes, and finally having it finished truly is a giant weight off of my shoulders. Also yes, true to her non-committal trait, Tina then dumped Alon so fast he barely had a chance to realise what happened. She then got Wheelo's thoughts on the apartment, and unfortunately it wasn't really for her. And so after Tina sneakily swiped a computer, she and Wheelo made their way back home. They arrived home just after 5 PM, and not even an hour later, after briefly fixing her needs, Tina was already off to another day of work in the criminal career. Now as Tina works, we need to have a chat about the Sticky Fingers aspiration. This was added to the game alongside the limited time blast from the past event, and simply requires a sim to steal 250,000 simoleons worth of objects. Every time Tina makes a swipe, she swaps to this aspiration. However, she's currently only stolen about 20,000 simoleons worth of goods, and the biggest limiting factor is that every time she steals an object, she receives a moodlet that lasts for a number of hours, and she's unable to steal again until this moodlet has cleared. Something was going to need to be done about it, and thankfully I had some help in working out exactly what. Watch this space. Tina returned home from work at 1 AM, where she was promoted to the very top of the boss branch of the criminal career. Yes, she was now the boss, and alongside a huge paycheck came experience in managing a large criminal enterprise. She then spent the morning performing a ghastly ritual to temporarily turn into a ghost, before practicing evil ghostly powers. All the while, Wheelo adorably tried to keep up with cleaning the mess that Tina was making. This led to Tina becoming a max rank Transcendent Wraith Ghost, and with 2 experience points to spend, she picked up the final 2 evil powers, being Dark Presence and Dream Corruptor. Perhaps even more importantly was that all of Tina's training also led to her unlocking the Otherworldly Curse, and with that, Tina now had access to every single evil ghost power. Frightening stuff. After Tina's ghostly state wore off in the early morning, she fixed up her needs before then browsing the web, searching for real estate that was up for sale while Wheelo watched on. And that's when they found it. A stunning 2-bedroom apartment that was both futuristic and fun. Wheelo was instantly drawn to it, and so Tina agreed to give Wheelo the funds to buy it. This apartment wasn't cheap, and Tina handed over 60,000 simoleons to Wheelo in order to make the fully furnished purchase. With some spending money to spare, of course. They hugged it out, and then Wheelo moved out of Tina's bunker and into her brand new apartment, where she instantly began flirting with the television. Bless. Back at the bunker, Tina spent the day upgrading and repairing objects around the house, as well as tending to her garden with the help of her gardening bot Ivy. She of course kept her needs nice and high too. Then come nightfall, Tina called up Sion and had him meet her at a bar in Mount Komorebi, and over some Plasma Jane drinks they talked. After he seemed interested, Tina officially invited Sion to join the Underworld Club, and he was in. Tina was ecstatic, and after the pair unwinded and played cards together, she then suggested they quickly go and have him meet Rhiannon. They arrived just before midnight, and here the group hung out and chatted by the fireplace. Rhiannon was thrilled. For Tina to find such a strong vampire to join her ranks was a big win in her eyes. She was all like, Marley who? Which was just as well, because Marley did show up in ghostly form, clearly not wanting to be forgotten. Thankfully, with Sion there, Rhiannon pretty much ignored poor Marley, and so she couldn't share her side of the story. Also yes, I'm very aware of the literal snowstorm inside. With Rhiannon thrilled that Sion had joined the Underworld, Tina then took a moment to ask Rhiannon if she could have a friend of hers also join. Rhiannon was in such a good mood that she said absolutely yes, whoever you want, which was exactly the answer that Tina had hoped for. Then after debriefing with Sion downstairs and confirming that they were still on track to overthrow Rhiannon, Tina decided to make her leave. On her way home, she briefly passed by Trashley's alleyway where she purchased 50 of her best boxes to essentially buy her ongoing loyalty. And opening these saw Tina complete in full Trashley's certified art collection. After returning home in the early hours of the morning and enjoying some French toast for breakfast, Tina then invited her bestie Daryl for a day out at the Casper Gallery within the arts quarter of San Myshuno. Here Tina played violin for Daryl before the pair viewed art together. And while this was happening, Tina suggested that Daryl join her cute club, the Underworld. Okay, so she lied and told Daryl no crimes were actually committed and that the club was really just about roleplay. In his innocence, Daryl totally believed her, and so when Tina asked him to join, he eagerly accepted. Yes, Daryl wasn't that powerful or crime savvy, but it meant that the club had one more member whose loyalty lied with Tina, rather than Rhiannon. Afterwards, Tina played some guitar, gossiped, and viewed art with Daryl for a while before he peed his pants and left. I know what you're thinking, yes. Daryl is an excellent addition to the Underworld Club. On her way out, Tina swiped another object, and reminded of the pesky moodlet that limited her stealing, she decided it was time to do something about it. And so rather than head home, Tina headed off to her mother Sally's house in Henford-on-Bagley. The pair got cozy around the fireplace while it snowed both outside and inside, and it was then that Tina asked Sally for some help. You see, throughout Tina's time as a spellcaster, she learnt all about potions, including the potion of emotional stability, and Tina was hoping that she could use this potion to clear any moodlets brought about from stealing, which in turn would allow her to steal repeatedly. There was just one problem. She wasn't a spellcaster anymore and could no longer make potions. Sally, on the other hand, was living that spellcaster life, much to the annoyance of literally every other spellcaster in the magic realm. And so after some chatter and a playful pillow fight, Tina then asked Sally if she could lend her a hand. Or maybe I should say a wand. She needed Sally to learn how to make the potion of emotional stability before handing a bucket load of them over to her. Now I can't take credit for this idea, as it actually came from an icon, Bats and Baby Dolls, who suggested it when I was pondering what to do while streaming one morning. So a massive thank you to Bats here. And with that, Tina took a moment to purchase and drink a potion of youth to reset her age before asking Sally to please hurry in making the potions. Sally was like, "Girl, I am trying to use the bathroom." But anyway, she agreed. And in case you are wondering, yup, it's time to play as Sally. Having just received an important task from Tina, Sally got straight to work. Just kidding, it's Sally. She went for a midnight swing in the snow. But afterwards, she did head off to the magic realm where she began experimenting on a cauldron. It was super boring work. Like, Sally was probably going to demand Tina also pay her 10,000 simoleons for this. Sure, Tina bought her a house, but now she was making her stir a damn cauldron. Sally knew that she deserved more for her efforts. A few hours of experimenting yielded no results, and so she visited Caster's Alley. And that was when luck was on Sally's side because there was quite literally a tome of emotional stability for sale. Despite her exhaustion and urgent need to pee, Sally read it. And in doing so, she learnt to make the one potion she needed. She then passed out. And after waking, Sally returned back home and spent the day fixing up her needs with a nice long sleep. Now, while Sally had learnt to make the potion of emotional stability, she didn't quite have the ingredients she needed to make it, being a potato and an obtainium metal. After waking and having a bite to eat, Sally then collected honey from her bees, which kind of hated her. But angry bees didn't deter her. Afterwards, Sally flew on over to the magic realm, and more specifically to the magical gardens, where she found a potato plant that sadly wasn't quite ready to be harvested. She then went over to Caster's Alley, and while there she ran into another spellcaster, Evangeline, who gave Sally an interesting tip-off about a supposed potions master who lived in a small house within Chestnut Ridge. Interesting. Sally then asked if they were hot, and Evangeline was like, I guess? Maybe? Busting to pee, Sally returned home, where she took a panicked poop and then fixed up her needs overnight. And come morning, Sally was ready to track down the potentially hot potions master. She changed and set off to the house that Evangeline had mentioned in Chestnut Ridge. Sally was not impressed with the dusty house. He better be drop-dead gorgeous, she thought as she rolled up to the front door. Thankfully, when she met Dario, she concluded that he was indeed hot. But just to make sure she had his attention, Sally casted Zip Zap on him before telling him that they had a spark. He was not amused. However, Sally did score some points with him for being a spellcaster. It was then that Sally spoke to him about her potion problems, and he offered to show her his potion making basement. Also, I know what you're thinking, and yes, there really is no such thing as personal space in the spellcaster community. After some chatter about potions, Sally then asked Dario for some magical training, hoping that he'd realize how attractive she was in the process. And afterwards, she took some time to get to know Dario a little better, finding out that much like herself, he was evil. Perfect, Sally thought, before launching into a spiel trying to sell the Underworld Club to him before officially inviting him to join. It worked. Dario was in, and Sally was so happy that she'd be able to spend more time with him, especially seeing as she was now determined to make him her future husband. As the sun began to set, Sally returned home. She then fixed up her needs overnight while pondering why Dario didn't make a move and try to kiss her, like she was an it girl, and she was a little offended that Dario hadn't instantly realized. Then at 5 AM she travelled to the magic realm and made a beeline for the potion store in Caster's Alley, where she purchased multiple obtainium metals and a couple of potatoes to boot. And then, because Sally both didn't have and couldn't afford a cauldron, she borrowed those in the magic realm to begin concocting potions of emotional stability. This saw Sally increase her spellcaster rank to adept, and she then picked up the blender arm, frugal combination, and a little extra chemistry perks to improve her potion making. She then continued concocting potions, brewing and bottling up numerous batches before eventually returning back home. Here she collected and sold some honey as well as a few spare tomes before using the funds to buy a few planters and awkwardly plant a couple of potatoes in her bedroom. After fixing up her needs and having a brief sleep, Sally then used her nectar making station to purchase some apples before making nectar for a couple of hours, storing it in the racks where it would begin to age. Afterwards, she cross-stitched for a while, selling the patterns she made to earn a little money, before the land grabs turned off her power because she hadn't paid her bills. Sally was all like, I don't get it, Tina usually pays these? Anyway, she then used her nectar making station to purchase some potatoes before traveling to the magic realm where she brewed more potions of emotional stability. Truthfully, Sally thought that these potions were mega boring. Like, stable emotions were so not her thing. But if it was what Tina wanted, then fine. She brewed up numerous more batches of the potion and accidentally failed one time in the process too. But passing out didn't deter Sally, and before long she'd made over 30 potions, hopefully enough to satisfy Tina. And after somewhat fixing up her needs and breaking a toilet, she travelled to Tina's bunker to deliver the goods. Now I did have to painstakingly gift these potions to Tina one at a time, because if I just dumped them on the ground, then for some reason with potions other Sims can't drag them into their own inventory, and Tina's inventory is where they needed to be. So yes, over 30 gifts later and Sally's task was finally complete. And in true Sally fashion, having completed her task, she then passed out. And now we're going back to playing as Tina. Now I'm not sure if it was a bug, but sprites from the Uni Secret Society were now randomly following Tina, and I'm genuinely unsure as to what exactly caused this. After fixing up her needs, it was time to get her hands very sticky and steal. After all, she still needed to steal around 230,000 simoleons of goods to complete the Sticky Fingers aspiration. But first, Tina paid 2,000 satisfaction points to purchase the Shameless Reward trait, which as you'll soon see is rather helpful for a thieving sim. And then it was time to begin. Tina decided to target the two M's, museums and mansions. And she began in Willow Creek. Here she stole an 8,000 simoleon suit of armor before drinking a potion of emotional stability to clear her moodlets and then immediately steal another 6,000 simoleon painting. But this was just the beginning, for Tina then strolled into the museum bathroom in Oasis Springs, and after drinking another potion, she stole another suit of armor. Then it was time for mansions. She began with the pre-renovated house of the Spencer Kim Lewis household, where she stole 2 very expensive Ghost Rider computers. Thankfully, even a potion backfire still clears the stealing moodlet and allows Tina to steal again. Quite the unstoppable thief. Not to mention that space bending made getting around a breeze. Tina stole another suit of armor from the Villarreal's house in Windenburg before hitting the jackpot at the Lawrence home in Tartosa, where she stole 2 very expensive suits of armor, a Ghost Rider computer, and numerous pieces of expensive art, drinking a potion of emotional stability before each swipe, of course. I'll be honest, it was a bit of a painful process, but at the same time it was effective, with Tina now having already swiped over 130,000 simoleons worth of goods. But this was no time to slow down. Tina then visited the wedding venue in Tartosa, where she wasted no time in taking 2 more expensive suits of armor, as well as a huge array of expensive artwork that adorned the walls. She even blew off work just so that she could keep taking things. And as the sun began to set, Tina made her way over to Judith Ward's house in Del Sol Valley. Only as a celebrity, Tina couldn't just knock, and so she had no choice but to break her way inside. The good news was that Tina's break-in was well worth it, as within Judith's house she managed to snatch 3 expensive suits of armor, as well as a huge range of very pricey artworks, plus a super fugly lounge. Seriously though, Judith had some pretty weird tastes, and Tina felt like she was actually doing her a favor by stealing all the priciest furniture in her house. Following this, Tina stopped by the Bailey Moon's house, again breaking in before drinking a potion of emotional stability and stealing their giant flat screen TV. Only it was now that Tina had a slight problem. She had drunk her last potion, and while she'd stolen 232,000 simoleons worth of items, she still needed to steal a further 18,000 worth without the help of potions. A little bit annoying without potions, but definitely doable. Tina returned home at 1 AM, where she took a moment to fix up her needs before tending to her garden and chatting to her plants. Come morning, she then headed off to visit her old friends, the Goths, who still lived in their pre-updated house and who now had 2 additional babies. I know, Neighborhood Stories is at it again. Immediately, Tina stole a suit of armor, and afterwards she hung out at the Goth's house for a number of hours while she waited for the stealing moodlet to clear. It was here that she pondered and thought, and eventually realized that almost everything was in place, and that it was just about time to overthrow Rhiannon. Before leaving, she stole another expensive piece of art, bringing her closer than ever to finishing off the Sticky Fingers aspiration, and she then made her way over to Dario's house in Chestnut Ridge. Here she introduced herself to and befriended Dario, which was simply a means to ensure that when she confronted Rhiannon to overthrow her, that he wouldn't mind the change in leadership. While chatting, Tina casually dropped in that Rhiannon farts a lot and also holds long meetings with all of the doors and windows shut. And when Dario asked if he could leave the club, Tina was like, "Sorry, no, best I can do is a leadership change." Confident that Dario now wanted Tina to lead the Underworld club, she returned back home. Here she fixed up her needs and waited until morning, as that was when a vampire like Rhiannon would be at their weakest. She then made some final preparations, turning herself into a ghost with a ghastly ritual before heading off to Rhiannon's house in the Forgotten Hollow. Tina used her spectral unlock ghostly ability to break on in, right as Rhiannon came to meet her at the door, but this didn't deter Tina, and after admittedly I cheated to make an expensive painting reachable, Tina then stole a highly expensive painting off the wall right in front of Rhiannon. It was an act that officially saw Tina finish the Sticky Fingers aspiration and be awarded with the enhanced kleptomaniac trait, which makes her better at stealing objects in front of others. Pretty neat, although with the help of the shameless trait, Tina was already doing this. Following this, Tina swapped to the Seeker of Secrets aspiration, before then confronting Rhiannon about the fact she was a liar, and afterwards Tina blackmailed her, forcing Rhiannon to pay up to avoid her spilling her secret. This then completed in full the Seeker of Secrets aspiration and awarded Tina the Pry of the Tiger trait, which notably makes her more successful when rummaging and sorting through junk mail, and and additionally gives her the perfect excuse if she's caught in the middle of a break-in. Understandably, Rhiannon was now starting to get quite rude, but Tina wasn't backing down, and in ghost form she cast the ultimate evil ability on Rhiannon, being the otherworldly curse. And with Rhiannon now both humiliated and dazed, Tina then started the final phase of her plan. She began a club gathering at Rhiannon's house. One by one the members arrived, well, except for Trashly, who blows up every club gathering. And seeing as sabotaging objects is a club activity, you better believe the other members started trashing Rhiannon's house. In fact, Rhiannon was so disoriented that she even started sabotaging objects in her own house. Also, somehow everyone ended up in the bathroom. Tina then had the club move to the main living area before swapping over to the leader of the pack, Aspiration, ready for the main event. Firstly, Tina went in for a fight, but unfortunately, even while cursed, Rhiannon was formidable, and she managed to win against Tina. But Tina wasn't backing down, and while she now didn't feel that she could overthrow Rhiannon by force, she still had her charisma, uniqueness, nerve and talent to fall back on. And yes, we do love a RuPaul's Drag Race reference. Tina schmoozed with Rhiannon for a while, giving her a few gifts to make amends while the rest of the club got into fights with each other. And then with the rest of the club present and backing her up, Tina convinced Rhiannon to step down and hand leadership over to her. Thankfully, Rhiannon agreed, handing over leadership of the underworld. This saw Tina finish off the leader of the pack, Aspiration, and awarded her with the natural leader trait, which boosts the amount of club points Tina gains and makes every attempt to take over a club successful. It had been a long journey, but Tina was now the leader of the underworld. And as she ended the club gathering and returned back home, she realized that she had truly become the ultimate supervillain. In addition to the leader of the pack aspiration, Tina had also completed all 5 of the deviance aspirations. Every single one of them. She'd also reached the top of the oracle and boss branches of the criminal career, and of the villain branch of the secret agent career. And to top it all off, she'd also learnt every evil ghostly power. But Tina's time as a villain wasn't over. Oh no, it wasn't. For a diabolical plan flickered in her mind and then sparked into action. With a spurt of energy, Tina worked hard overnight, packing up everything in her bunker that she wanted to keep before selling all those expensive stolen goods to pump up her household funds. And with it, Tina didn't just pay her bills. She also moved out of her bunker in Oasis Springs and into a stunning painter's retreat located on the remote crumbling isle in Windenburg. On her mind, 13 target Sims, and she planned to lure them into her web with the promise of a luxurious and relaxing getaway. But Tina wasn't doing this for free. There was something that she secretly wanted from each and every one of her targets. Can you work it out? You might have an idea as to what's about to happen, but you also might just have to wait and see. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, then give this video a thumbs up to support the series and consider subscribing to stay up to date with it. As always, I hope you have an amazing day. See you later.